Hey, what's up, y'all? This is OD from On the Air Sickle. It's that time again, and you don't want to miss it. Another great episode, and this time we're talking about self-management of sickle cell pain. No one wants to pay astronomical amounts of money for seeing a doctor, receiving treatment, and going to the ER, only to be mistreated, misunderstood, and ignored. Our next guest on the air has made up in her mind, if she doesn't have to, she's not going to the hospital. And she's decided to share her story of how she manages her pain. Catherine Goba is our next guest on the air. Season 2, Episode 4, Sickle Cell Resilience. You don't want to miss it. Catch all the episodes of On Air Sickle on our Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube pages. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to On the Air Sickle. This is the show where we air the good, the bad, the ugly in the name of awareness and advocacy. Thank you for tuning in. Listen, so this episode tonight is about sickle cell resilience. We have a young lady that'll be joining us to talk about some of the things that she does to manage her sickle cell pain and to tell her a little bit about her story. And so I'm excited. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring her on to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Catherine Goba. You are live on the air.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Catherine.
Thanks
How are
for having
you?
me. I'm good. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm well. Thanks for joining us. Listen, so our team found your videos doing our own sickle cell research. And one of the things that really intrigued me about your story is, just the different methods that you use to make sure that you stay out of the hospital. And so before I launch the questions and throw them at you, I want to go ahead and bring on the video clip that we have of you from last year where you talked about some of the methods that you use.
Do you hate going into the ER for any pain because you know they're just going to keep you there and stab you up? Well, I've got a life hack for you. Or I can just share what helps me. As you can see, my eyes are getting a little bit jaundiced, which means I'm close to being in crisis. I'm actually in crisis right now. My body hurts really bad. So some things I use to feel better are healing tones. And I make myself a cocktail of cucumber, lemon, and cayenne and chug it on down. It really helps flush out anything that's in my system that I don't need. I also tie behind body armor because these really help when you need a little hydration to take the pain away. Now, with that being said, I still take my medication if I need to. If you can avoid taking the medicine, I would suggest trying these little hacks because they really help me. Shout out to all my warriors out there struggling. We gonna make it. Oh, let me not forget. I also use CBD ointment on my joints that are really hurting. If you want to check it out, it's called Dragonfly CBD. It's 2,000 milligrams of CBD muscle gel, and it really helps with pain. I also stand a heating pad forever and always. And last but not least, a hot shower or bath always does a little something. I won't say it always helps because sometimes it also triggers the pain more. But yeah, that's how I manage my pain so I can avoid going through the ER and, medical racism.
Medical racism. Listen, so those were just a few techniques that you use, which was really impressive, actually, just because, it's great for the audience to know that there are other ways that we can keep ourselves out of the hospital. What I want to do is give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about your story. When were you diagnosed with sickle cell, and what was your upbringing like? How did you deal with it before you learned about these life hacks, as you call them?
All right. So I was diagnosed with sickle cell at birth, and I had my first pain crisis at 6 months. Noted from my mom, I think. Growing up though, I didn't really have the familiar support in like my everyday, and school was weird for me as well because I would be outcasted because I had a water bottle on my desk and like I took naps by the coats and they were just like, what's going on? She's snoring, stuff like that. I would sometimes be in the hospital by my lonesome, and it would make me feel like really just like different from everyone in a way where I didn't know who I was and didn't know what who to look to or what to look to when it came to my illness. But I had an aunt who helped me, and like she would give me things that were good for our blood, like to, ease the pain, like greens, leafy greens, and things like that. But I didn't really have that much support. So I really had to find my own way. I stumbled upon Dr. Sebi. I don't want to endorse him, but some of the things that he says works. Like a new addition that I have, like in my routine, is sea moss and a lot of blueberries and cucumbers and things like that. We need to stay hydrated, so I look to food to heal myself more than like medication, because food is like the implication of everything. We have what we need to heal ourselves. It's just knowing what it is.
Mm,
Also, I would note nettle leaf tea, and just go to like a wellness store. They have a lot of like herbs and things you can make teas out of so that you can, just chill, just lay very still, very still, and just drink tea and, vibe out and play a little tune. It's not
I
easy,
love
but
it.
that's
Yeah.
what helps.
So with that being said, the limited support that you had growing up, um, and you talked about your childhood, and you talked about the school, and trying to deal with your sickle cell. Um, was it a mindset change for you that allowed you to say, I've been in the hospital too many times. I need to find another opportunity. What was your interaction with the doctors? Because, like in your video, you talk about medical racism, which is a term that not many people may know about. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that?
So there's been countless times where, because I tend to be alone when I go into the ER, I'm very private about that part of my life. So I'll be alone, and when they see that you're alone, they'll think that no one cares for you, or that you're just asking for drugs, basically. That's the, kind of things that I face in the hospital when I go there. Like, they just think you're there for drugs. They don't really take you serious. And when you're telling them that you're in pain, they're like, okay, calm down. Like, they think you're being dramatic when it's really the pain overtaking you. So because of that, there's been countless times that I've been left in the back or in the hallway in heavy pain, or I'll be in a random place not knowing where I am, and I have a crisis and have to go to the nearest hospital. If they don't know what to do, they'll just like, give me drugs, and then it's just hands off. They leave me to just be there. And specifically, a time that I can recall was very recently, actually. I get treatment obviously for sickle cell, and so I had missed the treatment because I felt I was voicing that it was too often and aggressive, and they weren't listening. So I had to go into the ER, and they said if I wanted the treatment, I had to stay overnight. Stayed overnight, and there was a nurse strike. Unbeknownst to me, there was a nurse strike. So the nurses that were in the hospital didn't really know what was going on, and I would be calling on the bell. Takes a very long time to come because of medical racism. And when they did get there, all they would say to me was that, oh, the doctor hasn't buzzed back. The doctor hasn't gone back to us. I was in the hospital overnight. I had left my dog. This is in another state. My dog is in another state by herself in her house. And I'm telling them I have to go back home. I have to go back home. You have to do this treatment so I can go back home because I'll feel fine. They're not listening. They keep giving me medication. And come to find out, in the morning, I had been asking for the doctor the whole night. The nurse had never put in the notes that I asked for a doctor or anything of the sort. So the
Wow.
morning nurse was like, "Wow, this is happening," and I was like, "Yes, yes, this is happening. Nobody's listening to me. They think I'm looking for drugs because the pain is getting worse, and I'm advocating like, yes, I need the medication right now because there's no other way." So yeah, they didn't tell the doctor anything, and I had to call my doctor, my hematology office, to get everything moving because they don't listen to
So
me.
which state were you in where you were receiving treatment and you had to leave your dog? And what were the two states?
So I live in New York. I live in Brooklyn with my dog, and I started like based in New Jersey. My family moved to New Jersey, so I got all of my sickle cell care there. So I would go back since my treatment was like 8 weeks like apart, and I would go back and get the treatment and leave. But I missed the treatment because the last treatment that I said, I was like, this is way too much. I feel fine when I come here, and when I leave here, I feel worse. So we should spread more time. And they weren't listening. So I tried a little trick. I missed the appointment. I said, hey, I'm going to come when I am hurt. And I came when I was hurt, and they tried to, lock me down there. And
Mm, mm.
not that it's funny. It's very serious. It's very serious.
Yeah, yeah,
But if
absolutely,
I thought it,
absolutely. I think
so
it's I think it's interesting. Like if we could have our voices heard a little bit more, just just 5%, five
this
percent
is
more. I mean, the
serious.
care would be significantly different. And I've even experienced an incident dealing with COVID, where the hospital that I was at did not know how to treat sickle cell. They treated the COVID, but they could not treat the sickle cell. And no matter how many times I had told them, this is what works for me. My hemoglobin goes to a 7. I need a blood transfusion. Um, you know, no matter how many times I told them that, they let it drop. So I understand what it's like to wait to the last minute, be in pain, not be heard, and just feel like you're alone. Especially with me dealing with COVID, no one could come and visit me. My wife had to drop off food at the bottom level of the hospital, like she couldn't come up and see me. It was ridiculous. So and that's why we're here with On the Air Sickle, because it's moments like that that makes me feel like our voices need an outlet. You have all these recognizable months, right? Cancer Awareness Month, and
Speak on it.
yeah. So we have September as Sickle Cell Awareness Month, but there's not a whole bunch of hype outside of the sickle cell warriors doing something for their own month, right? Um,
Yes.
so I feel like we need to educate more, and I see that in your label there you got songwriter, and sickle cell advocate. Tell us a little bit about the music that you write and how that helps you deal with some of your pain.
So music for me has been like a safe haven ever since I was young, watching my dad be in a band and whatever. I used to write songs when I was 12 about having sickle cell. My first song that I ever released is about sickle cell. It's called Spain. And the first line is, I live in Spain. The S is just silent. I don't know if you get the
Mm,
metaphor.
yeah,
But so that's like an outlet for me to put the pain. I've also had like, other things happen to me that also affected my sickle cell or were affected by my sickle cell, which I put into my music. I just, that's like a great outlet for me to get the pain out, other than like, go doing something crazy or something like that.
sure, sure. Yeah.
It's therapeutic.
And you were telling in your video from last year about the CBD. I want to dive a little bit into that. The CBD cream that you use. How did you decide, let me try this and let me see if it works for me? And what were the effects for you?
So last year, or I would say 2021, I was in a one car drunk driver accident where I like completely, I'll keep it short, but I flew out of the car. Hit the highway, rolled off the shoulder, broke my leg, broke my sternum, broke my hip, and broke my back. And I was gifted from a company that sells CBD products for the pain of it, like to heal. And so looking through the things, I had like, when it first came, I wasn't really interested. But when I went back to it, I was like, hey, let me take a dive into it. And I put it on, and the pain was immediately like less. So I was like, this is a good thing. This is a good thing.
Interesting.
So
I've always heard growing up, that I should try CBD, and I was always like hesitant about it just because I didn't know how it was going to affect my body. And it wasn't until recently that I had a conversation with my hematologist, and she actually suggested like the gummies. She was like, don't smoke it, but if you want to do the gummies,
yeah,
and again, like I'm still like, what, like just baffled that that was suggested, but not surprised, if that makes any sense. Just because it had been, a discussion for so many years that now it's finally, recommended by a medical physician that hey, this could potentially work to help with your pain. And so you had a little concoction that you had in that video.
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So the ingredients in the little concoction help with blood and hydration. So the cayenne pepper, it thins like your blood out, so natural blood thinner. The cucumber is hydrating, and the lemon just, lemon is always good for you. So when I'm in crisis and I drink like a huge glass of that, my blood, like it doesn't immediately feel better, but like once I lay down for a little bit, I feel less pain. Like the pain isn't as much. I also recommend nettle leaf tea and chickweed herb. Steam a tea, make it, and I drink that also with chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, they won't tell you this, and I spoke to my doctor about this, but they won't tell you that chlorophyll helps build red blood cells so that you don't even need a transfusion if you continuously take it. So I recommend chlorophyll as well. It's really good, and it makes your body. It just flushes your whole body. You don't even have BO anymore. So I recommend that.
Yeah, my wife, she's a nutritionist, and she gives me so many recommendations that I've never even heard of. But like you were talking about, like the sea moss, and you were talking about the chlorophyll, and leafy vegetables. My wife, she's recommended those things as well. So it's
They're
actually
really
good, to hear that other people are using those opportunities as well.
It works. Well, I
What?
won't say it's like the healer, but it works. And I will recommend
Yeah.
beet as well. Beet juice, fresh pressed juices, they help. Yeah.
Do you juice your own drinks?
I tend to. I like to because I like to customize it in a way, but when I can't, I go to the juice store.
What's your favorite juice store to go to?
So because I just moved, I'm looking for a new one, but it was this supermarket called City Fresh where you can get any juice made. So that was it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tell me about like peers, friends that have experienced you in pain. What are some of the things that they see when you're going through your pain, and after you've added some of these techniques for yourself, have they seen a difference? Have they commented on the difference? What does that look like?
So one of my friends did see me in a really bad state, like where I needed a blood transfusion, and I got a catheter in my neck. Though she wasn't like she was scared. She was scared for me, and I was like, "Girl, I'm gonna be okay." It's just blood. Like they get really concerned, like you're about to die, like it's the end of you, and it's just like, calm down. I'm gonna be okay. We're gonna pray about it, and those are the like good friends that I have. Some friends will just, not really be as supportive as you would want them to be. Um, Growing up, like I said, it was hard because nobody really understood. Uh, I had a really bad episode, like when I was 9, which resulted in a mild stroke and AVN. and I had to switch schools, or not schools, but I had to switch classes. And all my friends from the former class were just mad at me and was like, "Why would you switch classes? Why would you do that?" But it was the teacher who was like stressing me out, and like she wasn't. It was I grew up in the South, so it was a lot of racism that I now realize. But I had to switch classes, and they were mad at me. They were like, "Oh, you switched," and so I was outcasted.
Oh man, jeez. So what about what about your like sleeping habits? Does the techniques help you to relax a little bit more? I know you talked about using a heating pad, in conditions and living in New York. I'm not sure about New Jersey, but I know New York can sometimes be pretty cold. Um, how did you sustain there in that climate condition?
That's a very good question because I'm asking myself the same. But I tend to not go outside when it's like snow. That's just not my thing. I'm from the South. I don't know what snow is for real. Um, what was I gonna say? The heating pad. I sleep every night with a heating pad because the aches and pains at the end of the day. You just put the heating pad on there and you're good. I will say also to go to sleep, I do eat a gummy. It immediately takes away the pain and just chills you out, mellows you out. But sustaining in New York is very tough as for someone with sickle cell because there's subways and the air pollution. I have an air purifier and a humidifier so that I can like make my space my oxygen more like healthy, as well as plants. I like a lot of plants around me just to give my environment better air quality so that I'm breathing in good. I will say in emergent situations, there are like many to go oxygen cans that you can breathe in, which I actually learned from another girl on TikTok. I forget her at, but we'll
Oh,
get at the
wow.
end. She's good too. So when you're in crisis, you can breathe it in a little bit, and it does help. It does help. I'll say anything helps as long as it gets away pain.
Sure, sure. So we've talked about, changing your diet. We've talked about the heating pad. We've talked about you writing your own songs. I know for me, listening to music kind of helps, distract my pain. Um, uh, playing a video game or watching a movie, anything that I can do to try to distract myself from the pain. What are some other things that you've noticed have worked for you?
Sometimes meditation. Meditation helps a lot. Once you realize you're about to go in crisis, if you just lay down and take like 10 deep breaths, it may help. It's helped me before. Um, what else? Juices really help. I will stand by a beet juice with celery, leafy green. It does help. I was actually in crisis yesterday and I got a beet juice and I felt, a little bit better. I could do my job. So I will stand that and just, taking care of yourself, not overexerting yourself. I tend to put the least amount of effort physically in everything I do, which may be frowned upon, but I know what the consequences are if I overexert myself. So mm,
And what do you do for work? Like, how do you manage your sickle cell pain in your working environment? For me, for example, I work with the elderly population, and I'm a manager. So managing both my pain while also managing my workspace, my workload, and those that I supervise. I have to find a very unique fine line balance. What about you, as far as
so
resilience
that's
is concerned?
tricky for me. But over the years, I realized, oh, if I continue to do something as because when I do something, I like to give 100 rather than 0%, but the least amount of physical effort. So I've noticed that when I do that, I tend to burn out. Like hence my name. So I became a freelancer and I work when I need to rather than when they want me to. So if I can't do a job because I'm feeling ill, I can't do a job because I'm feeling ill. And I speak with all my managers when I accept a job, accept a role. Hey, this is what I deal with. Even though they may not understand and I might get flack for it and like they even might try me a little bit. I explain to them, hey, this is an arena that you're not in. So I'm gonna do what's best for me. But I'm still here to help.
Yeah. And I see that you also have sickle cell advocate. Tell me a little bit about that.
I'm advocating for sickle cell for all of us. We can do. I feel like when you're born with sickle cell, there's so many obstacles put in place, so or like imaginary obstacles, I would say, because I was told growing up that I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, I couldn't do this. But now, how I feel and living and seeing what I could accomplish, I'm like, why did I feel like I couldn't do what normal people do? There's no reason that I can't do this. It's only because what I'm told, because everyone around me knows that I'm like a sickler, but they don't know what I'm capable of. Even with that, they just write me off immediately because I am sick. So I want to
Yeah.
advocate for those who have dreams out there, like to do things, even if it's physical. You can. You can do it. You just have to take care of yourself and pace yourself. Go at your own pace. So I'm advocating for
Sure.
like the little girls out there who have dreams.
That's awesome. Can you talk about the the s- support, the community that you have now as an adult, regarding like your family or your those that you can call on if your pain gets to a point that you can't manage it. Like who's there for you?
I'm like that. It gets a little weary. I would say my dog is here for me. My dog or my roommates. They'll give me water. They'll give me whatever. I moved away because I felt like I'm the only one in my family with sickle cell, so I don't feel like they genuinely understand what I like go through, and they haven't seen it in like action because it's always in the hospital, never at home. And my like siblings are minors; they were never brought to the hospital growing up, so I feel like
Mm.
they don't understand. My mom, I would say, yeah, she knows, but she's not as like present as I would like her to be. So I don't blame her for that. I love my mom. She did her best with me. She did what she could. So my support system is really just myself and my doctors and the good friends that
And
I do have.
And I think that's a great perspective, to note about sickle cell resilience because we kind of have to walk this life, um, even if we do have a support system, or we do have, those that can walk with us and support us or bring us to the hospital. Going through it in your body, from
So
your perspective, is a whole different beast. I used to describe it as, how like the Hulk and Bruce Banner. I used to, describe sickle cell is like the Hulk inside, and Hulk can't get out.
that's a
And
cool way. When I'm asked to
right,
describe it, that's a cool way. I like that. When I'm asked, I'm like, oh, there's 10 million people in me stabbing me at the same time. It's a little bit morbid. That's
yeah,
how I
yeah,
feel.
yeah. So that's how I describe it, and people tend to understand, and they're like, "Well, what's your pain like?" And I'm like, "Well, you imagine someone taking a metal bat to your knees over and over and over again without stopping for 1 hour." I said,
Mhm.
"You probably are close to what I feel when it's really, really bad." So,
Mhm.
just trying to paint the picture, so that people understand the dynamic. But what I show people is this energized, always smiling, positive. So when I'm down, like I give 200. So when I'm down, I'm really down. And even my coworkers can see it on my face. Hey, are you feeling okay? And I'm like, today's not a good day. and they'll know, well, let me know if you need water, or if you. So it's just educating little by little, and the other thing too that I think is important that I can't really pull away from is this idea that sickle cell only affects African Americans, and it's why in the intro I list those facts of, from the CDC. Like, people have to know it's not just African Americans that go through sickle cell. It's a blood disorder. So really, even though there's not that much, white people can get sickle cell. So we have to understand that as a blood disorder, we have to come together as a community to support, in order to push through this and beat this. Our co-host, she recently passed away, but she was another one with a beautiful spirit who fought, and advocated to the very end. And I believe that even though she, what I would call prematurely, um, she left with grace, and that idea of positivity that we as sickle cell warriors have to have when we're going through our pain. So, tell me a little bit about your perspective on your life in regards to the disease process.
I will say my perspective started out like, why me? Why me? But now it's like, oh, I'm different. And different is good. I'm technically an alien because my blood is not the same as everyone walking around. And I feel like because we go through this, we're able to go certain lengths and be certain things so that like the world would never see it if it wasn't us. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
We're aliens in a way, and we're still in the society camouflaging as if we're normal and working as everyone else. We should be like, awarded for that because it's not
Well,
easy. You know what I'm saying? We're
yeah,
just
we're
like,
here. Yeah,
yeah, we're here, but nobody knows we're here, and that's the problem. That's the problem.
yeah, yeah.
And also dealing
Catherine,
with an
no,
my
no,
bad.
you're fine. Go ahead, finish your statement.
Dealing with an invisible illness is like one of the hardest things that you can ever do, and you should, be notified or
Yeah,
just give your props. Give your props to it. I give you props.
awesome. So I want to know. So typically we would transition into a Q and A. Let me see, team. Do we have any questions in the comments at all? All right, not today. Okay, cool. All right, so I do have um another segment, and that is really I turn the show over to our guests, and really it's an opportunity for you to kind of speak to our audience members and give them some type of encouragement or some type of knowledge of what your story is, a message from your heart. Okay, so this is me backing out and allowing Catherine to take the stage.
Okay. Okay. Hey, everyone out there. I'm Catherine, aka Burnout, and I want you all to know, especially those with sickle cell, that it's not a defect. You're not a burden. You just simply are different. And in a world where different is rare, you should be celebrated. And I feel like we should be celebrated because we're superhumans in a way. And I don't know what else I'm supposed to say now. I just feel like if you have a dream, go for it. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, because of sickle cell, you can't do something. Because you're capable. You just have, off days. And everybody has off days. Ours are just a little bit more serious. So don't get discouraged every time you're in the hospital. Try to stay positive because that's all we have. All you have is your mental because your physical is constantly trying to, you know, mess your whole life up in a way. But also take care of it. Take care of your physical so that it doesn't. And there's other ways other than medication, because the medication will get you hooked.
Thank you, Catherine.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to On the Air Sickle with Catherine Goba, aka Burnout. Catherine, we're going to put you in the green room. Don't leave. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to On the Air Sickle. Again, this is where we share the stories of the warriors. It's an opportunity for us to truly share the good, the bad, the ugly in the name of awareness and advocacy. And, it's stories like Catherine that show us that we as warriors have the opportunity to fight through our pain, push forward, and utilize some of the natural resources that's at our disposal. A healthy lifestyle may not be an easy lifestyle, but as my wife says, it's a lifestyle change. So thank you for tuning in to On the Air Sickle. If you all would like to have your story on the air, please go to www.ontheairsickle.com. You can fill out the form there. It'll come directly to our team. We'll make sure that we reach out to you and you could be our next guest on the air. If you're interested in sharing videos like Catherine and her story, please go to our social media outlets. You can see that on either Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, or YouTube. We are live on Facebook and YouTube right now, and I'm so excited that my team has done a wonderful job of, getting the stories out to you, the viewer. And then the last thing is our team is all about a mission of purpose. So I want to make sure that you all understand our vision and that you support our mission. Our vision is our slogan, that we are airing the good, the bad, the ugly in the name of awareness and advocacy. So no matter what the story is, we want to make sure that you all know more about sickle cell. The second thing is our mission. Our mission is threefold. And so with that, we believe that by doing this, we want to stay on and provide you information that's new, that's innovative, information that's real. And so we need your support in order to do that. The second component is that we are seeking to support sickle cell research. And then the last thing is that we are also looking to build our Flip the Bill campaign, which basically says that if a family member or a sickle cell warrior is in the hospital and they're unable to support their family or, do things that they would normally do on a normal basis, such as put food on the table, we want to help support that family. Or maybe there's a sickle cell warrior who's in school and they are trying to further their education, but they need help paying for books. So the Flip the Bill campaign is our way of giving back. So in order for you to join our mission, please donate to the information on the screen at our PayPal. You can go to our PayPal at On the Air Sickled OD, and you can donate any monetary gift of any kind. It goes, again, towards our mission. And please share this video with any friends, any community members, and you can join the On the Air Sickled Facebook group page where you can get more information as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to On the Air Sickled. I'm your host, OD. Until next time, stay strong. Hey y'all, this is OD from On the Air Sickle. Have you been enjoying On the Air Sickle lately? Want to get your story on the air like these people? Check out our new On the Air Sickle website, where you can share your stories live on the air.